Gold is trading over $4,000 and silver is catching up. We're trading over $50 an ounce, reaching new all-time highs. We haven't seen this price level since the Hunt brothers tried to squeeze the silver market. And I've invited a fantastic guest to help us dissect the market momentum or the market moves in the precious metals. It's Andrew Sleigh. He's with Sprott Money. We'll take a closer look under the hood. What is happening on the physical side, but also what is driving demand in the precious metals right now? Is there a silver shortage out there? We'll have to discuss, because rumors are floating around that there's not enough silver going around anymore. And we'll have to figure out if that is true or if it's just a rumor. So really looking forward to this conversation. But before I switch over to my guest, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us out tremendously, and we much appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Now, Andrew, let me get you on the screen here. Really appreciate you joining us. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Glad to be back. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, so much going on. Perfect timing. Just today, silver broke out over $50. We're recording this on October 9th. We do have to mention the dates, and I probably should give a timestamp here as well. It's 6:21 p.m. as we're recording this, because I've been criticized, like, oh, you got to put timestamps, because prices move so much recently. Give us an overview, Andrew. Maybe your impression. Like, what is really driving prices to these levels? Is this just momentum, or is there more to it?
I think the demand on the institutional side in the countries is starting to have an effect and show up in the price. Also, I think that the shorting is starting to wane on particularly silver and gold. And of course, gold is the bellwether to indicate that currencies are failing. So it's doing its job. So it's going to go up and up and up because the currencies are continuing to fail big time and will speed up at some point. On silver, the last couple of days, there's been some rumors and a few articles about shortages around the world. And I just had a chance to kind of dig into it a little bit this morning with some, pretty high credible people that are looking around. And there are some things there that are going on. Here in Canada, I've been talking about this for a bit, but the Canadian Mint has had on and off again availability of 100-ounce RCM silver bars. So not available for 3-4 months. Then there's a month or two that we can buy them, and then another 3-4 months not available. And that's never happened before. To my knowledge, in the last number of years. So it's abnormal. 10-ounce RCM bars, not available the entire year. We couldn't get them. Nobody could get them. All done. Now, I don't know what that's an indication of. Is it less supply coming into the mint? Like, say, 1,000-ounce bars, there's not as much coming in. And so if the mint has the obligation to make the RCM silver maple coin, and they don't have enough raw material coming in, so they have to start saying, okay, well, we'll cut off on 10-ounce bars or intermittently stop the 100-ounce bars to maintain the silver coins. Is that's what's happening? Like, they won't say. It's just nothing more than a guess on our part. And also, kilo bars of gold haven't been available the entire year to the retail market. Our suspicions are that the Comex is buying whatever's available directly from the mint in mass, and they just haven't been able to make any more available for the retail public. So that's been going on all year. And then all of a sudden, the last couple of days, there's now articles coming out that the Rand mint in South Africa is now sold out of Krugerrands, and more material coming in a couple of weeks until they'll start making them again. Perth mint is out of a variety of different product. Various dealers, this person was doing some collecting of some data and showed some snapshots of various dealers around the world that were sold out of kilo bars of silver and other product. So it seems to me that there is some validity to this. Now, I saw some pictures of X or Twitter or whatever, like type of comments where it seemed like individuals are just perhaps doing some hype that, giving it some emotion, like, this is the big squeeze, it's going to be gone in 2 weeks, or that kind of stuff. I don't jump on that bandwagon. I like to see hard data when I see stuff that's sold out, and that's kind of abnormal for the retail sector that's slow, at least in North America. And if dealers are selling out, they're not able to get it, replenish it as much. So I think the picture is going to come into focus more and more over the next 1 to 2 weeks, and we could see, some massive problems if this continues to go in this direction.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. You touched on something I want to follow up on. Is something Gary Savage told our audience here a while ago about gold when gold had its move. Was that gold has broken the cartel. Is the same thing true now for silver? Has silver now broken the cartel? Was the move too powerful to keep it suppressed?
Well, that's a good question. I do know that, Ed Steer, if you've ever had him on before, he does a lot of data following on the short contracts, and so he does excellent work. And he stated in an interview I saw maybe a month ago that I believe it's from July to August, the bullion banks with their short contracts on silver decreased their amount by 50%. And that's a massive decline in his words, because that's just, they're throwing away half of the ammo they have to try and suppress silver. Now, is that because they know the game is coming to an end, and if they don't start getting out of their positions, the silver train's going to run them over? And so they're trying to get out of Dodge, starting a couple months ago. And then I saw something the other day that was short contracts on the Comex. I think available for shorting was 10,000 units, and it was sold out in an hour. So there was nothing left for anyone to short. So, and I don't fully understand the mechanics behind that. I'm not in that realm, but that seems to me to be the firepower to control silver downward seems to be waning considerably, and that could spell, excitement for the physical world.
Yeah, it is interesting because all of a sudden that momentum is like same with gold. Like there are a lot of parallels, of course. All of a sudden, there's massive momentum. There's no more stopping, as you said. Like the short side is pulling back while there's still a lot of demand on the physical, or not just physical, but in the precious metal itself, which I'm trying to understand because what has changed is maybe the other question. Like, what was that last domino that sort of set it off? Because we all knew geopolitical crises all around us, although like we seem to be solving one in the Middle East right now, thank goodness. But nothing has really changed, right?
Well
so we've known about it. So
I think that was very well said. Like all of a sudden, what has changed? It's funny. We've been talking about this stuff for years, and I've been talking about this for 10 years. I just didn't know when it was going to start. And is this the start? With quiet optimism, I hope so. But we're all scared to say that because we've been here before. And so what has changed? That's exactly the $1 million question. I can tell you that somebody had brought up a point, another analyst saying that there was, I believe it was $12 trillion of money sitting on the sideline that was all linked into momentum traders, the algorithmic computer trades that look for momentum shift in stocks, commodities, whatever. And when they detect it, they start buying it. There's no human eye working on it. And so 12 trillion, well, even if 1% of that starts to go after metal, particularly silver, that's a huge number that just doesn't fit in that space. So is some of that starting to trickle in? We're going to find out over the next few days. More and more information is going to come out. But right now, it's too early. I don't know what it is. It's happened so fast. I haven't been able to keep up with it. So.
Yeah, no, I've done an interview 10 days ago. I've done an interview 10 days ago with David Lynn, actually, in Beaver Creek. It was two and a half weeks ago. That was released maybe 5 days ago. And my pricing, I was off by $400 on the gold price within 2 weeks. Like, and people were commenting, he's like, he doesn't know his spot prices. What's going on? Like, silver is way higher right now. Gold is way higher. I was
Yeah.
like, absolutely insane, that momentum. But as we said, like, we've been pointing towards this ever since probably at least March 22, when Russia invaded Ukraine and the SWIFT system, or Russia was taken off the SWIFT system. All of a sudden, like, we all knew what was going to happen, but it never did, right? Is this? That's the question. Maybe is this the broken clock? A broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing. Because I'm, as you said, I'm cautiously optimistic here because I've been hit over the head way too many times. Like, of course, it's great to see silver at $50, gold at over 4,000. The mining stocks today, in contrast, as we record this, red completely.
Really?
Down. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Like the mining stocks are getting decimated is a strong word, but they're all down 2, 3, 4, 5%. Let me actually take a look at the GDX real quick.
Is that just people trying to take profit? And
GDX is down 3.2% despite all the record high prices. Like, we're still above $4,000 in gold. I have no idea where that is coming from, right? So that's why cautiously optimistic here, because we've been hit over the head way too many times, and I want to be way more euphoric, but it's really difficult, right?
I just want to say it with a smile and quiet optimism and quiet excitement. I think, in my opinion, that with the momentum and the energy behind silver, this could be, like, it's going to be very hard for them to bring this down. I mean, they're going to fight trying to get it back down below 50, but it's going to be just possibly a week battle or a 2-week battle of it goes up to 51, it goes down a little bit, and they struggle it back down to 49 and change over a couple of days, whatever. But it's sooner or later, it's going to pop above 50 and hold. And when it does hold, I think the air is pretty thin up here, and the resistance is going to be pretty minimal after that. And then I would just advise people, before the boat leaves the dock, you may want to buy whatever else that you want to buy, because in my opinion, what I think is going to occur is, we've seen this dollar and a half swings quite a bit, and quite a few days like that during the week. So you can see just in the last 4 or 5 weeks that silver in Canadian dollars has gone up like $15-16 an ounce, which is fantastic in the last in that period of time. So I think we're going to start the next phase. Whenever that starts, will be like a 10% move, $4 and $5 US spot per day, up, down, half of it down, whatever it is. You'll start seeing that, and then after that, the next phase I think will be $10 and $20 moves, per day, whenever, and then after that it's game over. You'll wake up one day and all of a sudden it's risen $100 or $200, because it's just gone beyond anyone's control. And with all the energy that's been suppressing silver for so long, that spring it will be released, and the energy in that's going to be immense. So I keep telling people over the years, nothing would surprise me what silver does. I'll be grinning a lot when it jumps up $5 and $10 a day, and then $20-30 a day, and then $100 a day and whatnot. But that is potentially around the corner, and so I would be, if you have positions left to get, I would get them.
Maybe let's dissect the first domino a little bit, perhaps. And I'm still curious why the market thinks that might have been the trigger, but it was Jackson Hole's speech by Jerome Powell. I think if we wanted to put a finger on it, gold was wanting to rally, but then August 22nd came, the speech came, hint at rate cuts, and all of a sudden the market just loses its inhibition. It just goes bonkers, for lack of better terms, and gold goes parabolic. It's pretty much a 90-degree angle line if you want to draw it on a chart and you zoom out. I had Gary Wagner on yesterday from the Gold Forecast, and we zoomed out back to 1979, and it's just a straight line up. But let's dissect that. Like the message that the market thinks it's hearing from that speech by Jerome Powell. What does the market think is going to happen? And what do you think is going to happen based off that market move, based off that trigger?
Well, they're going to do everything they can to keep the market going up in the stock market. So they're going to stand on their head. They're going to do everything possible to keep that charade going as long as possible. So that's going to be QE, to huge numbers. And that's what, in my opinion, that's what gold is telling us what's coming. You're going to see another rate cut, and they'll continue doing that. And they're going to do QE on yield curve control. And gold is telling us that they're already money printing galore. And I would go so far as to say that gold's telling us that the system is on the way out. The dollar is in its last legs, and even though they plan to go to a stablecoin digital version of the dollar backed by nothing, back in another nothing, which is interesting to me. That will be just another charade to kick the can down another year or two with mega printing in a digital way. And then we also have to look forward to, will the U.S. government revalue gold for October or November, whenever they do it? We don't know. But, are they going to do this? Let me correct myself. It's not a revaluing in gold. It's revaluing the currency, but they don't want to say it that way. So you can't revalue gold. You devalue the currency, which is going to make gold go to their estimated limit of 13 to 30 grand an ounce US, which has been projected by a few analysts. So if that occurs, because they're painted themselves into a box, that's going to be completely uncharted territory to kind of interpret what's going to happen from there. So
yeah, we're already seeing a parabolic move. The question is, what's next, right? And how much further can this rally go? I keep using the words like scary, but I'm more concerned about what that price move means for everything but gold, the precious metals, right? What kind of environment are we in? Because we kept saying, like, even at 1,200, 1,300 Algo, if we see higher prices, 4,000, 5,000, the world must be burning. Like, how close are we from the world burning, perhaps, Andrew? Or maybe are we ignoring that? Like, is the world burning right now?
Well, I guess in Paris, it certainly is burning. There's a lot of distraction in the world by design, with commotion and rioting and regional conflicts, which all are indicative of these empires and systems that come to the end of their legs, and it always ends in lots of violence to cover up the government and banking shenanigans of inflating the currency to nothing, which steals everyone's purchasing power and impoverishes a generation or two. This is the same playbook they've used every single time. So it's nothing new to me once you understand history on it. It's going to be catching the vast majority of people which do not understand what's happening. They don't understand what inflation really is. They don't understand that they're being robbed every day with printing of money, and their currency goes down in value. And they need to open up their eyes and ears and start doing something about it, because they don't want to be a statistic of the people that in history have lost all their value.
No, absolutely. No, it's mind-boggling. My head is spinning. It's even difficult to just prepare for these conversations these days. There's so much going on, so it's really difficult to focus on one single topic. But I want to maybe follow up on something that we've discussed about 5-6 months ago here, Andrew, and that's the shadow banking system. And I mentioned to you that I want to discuss briefly First Brands and Tricolor, on the auto side in the U.S. A big billions of dollars are being incinerated here. There's some fraud allegations, miscalculations, misaccounting, whatever you want to call it. But we need to talk about subprime loans, and the auto sector is prone to dodgy loans for sure. What do you make of the collapse of these two auto companies?
Well, it's a bellwether signal of the whole thing is coming down. It's just one leg of the chair that's now collapsed or about to break or whatever. And the other leg is going to be subprime housing. Another leg is going to be maybe the bond market. Another leg of the chair will be the commercial mortgages. So all of that's a disaster, and banks are going to be, completely destroyed by all this stuff. So this is just part of the slow motion train wreck that is unfolding before our eyes. Repossessions of housing in the States is past '09 levels, has been for a while. So, that was the great financial crisis of our land, so to speak, which is nothing compared to what's going to happen now. But, the news was talking about the amount of repossessions and the credit defaults and the auto loan defaults all after that '08 crisis. So why is it this time around there's like nothing being said, except for, channels like your channel and others that are, talking about this, but mainstream, everything is fine. The economy is great. So, in Canada, in the States, the unemployment rate, that's completely a lie. It's probably between 20 and 25% unemployment. So, if you go back and use the original type of measuring stick that they used way back when, they massage the numbers to whatever they want to have to project a different picture. So same is happening all around the world. The economies are all fine, and if they are fine, why are they getting ready to institute universal basic income to everybody? And AI is going to replace a huge number of jobs in the very near future. So they're getting all this stuff set up in place so that when the unemployment goes to some obscene number, that they're going to be using a welfare system to pay for everybody so they can exist. We're going to see some absolute historical events that are going to unfold, from here on for the next years to come. So
run us a bit through that. Like, what are potential scenarios? Like, we're already at record high prices for gold and silver. Like, what could catapult it potentially even higher? What is priced in already, Andrew?
Well, when you have unemployment, they're going to do dollar printing like crazy. So they have to. And that's going to explode gold and silver even further to a degree that would be normal in Venezuela or Argentina, but it's completely foreign to the rest of the West. Like Europe and North America, we've not really gone through this kind of hyperinflation that's coming our way. But people want to have an idea, just start doing some research with Venezuela and Argentina, and you'll get a preview of what's coming. And so every time they do a new budget bill, it's many trillions of dollars. They're going to be, the Canadian government's doing the same thing. There's just, Europe is wanting to get into a conflict in Ukraine and expand the war. The countries are all broke. Why do you want to expand the war? Because they need to print more money. They need a major distraction. So all of this is going to be massively, massively inflationary, which comes right back to the dollar, whatever currency you're in, whatever country, that's going to be destroyed. And if you think gold is high at 4,000 US, that's just today's numbers. Once the inflation continues to pick up pace, you'll see an exponential increase in gold in dollar terms or whatever currency you're in. So with Venezuela, I tracked that for years. January 2018, it was $684 of their currency, the sovereign bolivar, and 6 months later, it was 90,000 for the same ounce of silver. And then 2 years after that, July 2020, it was 5.9 million, and it just kept going higher. It was in the hundreds of millions in a 4 or 5 year period for 1 ounce of silver. And that's not because the silver still bought 1 month's worth of food, roughly. But the currency, disintegrated that fast because of money printing. So people should be just taking a look at some of those countries, and that will help you understand what's coming.
Maybe put it into perspective for us as well, because the US dollar is fighting a good fight right now. It is trying to hang in there. It's trying to stay or keep up with gold and silver here right now. I've called it an everything rally because the S&P 500 is higher as well. It's trading at all-time high levels. But I'm personally a bit surprised that the U.S. dollar is doing as well as it is. And please, I'm using those terms lightly. As we all know, the U.S. dollar is losing purchasing power, but the DEUTSCHE, in comparison to other currencies, is doing okay the last few days. Like, we're actually going higher, not lower, as one would suspect with a government shutdown and precious metals rallying like there's no tomorrow. So can you put that into perspective for us a little bit? Is that just the last hurrah?
Well, I'm going to say it this way. So the DEUTSCHE showing strength against the other currencies, they're all burning aircraft. They're all going towards Earth to crash. And at any given moment, if the US dollar isn't burning quite as fast as the other ones, that's when it has its week of strength. And it's only in relation to the other basket of crap around the world of currencies. And so I look at it strictly from a standpoint of purchasing power within the US. And the mainstream promote the strength of the dollar, and it's very misleading to the general public. The dollar's stronger this week. Well, that's only in relation to the other crap it's being compared to. So they're all airplanes have fallen to the earth. Now, there's a gentleman who did some math on this a couple of weeks ago, who I believe is well qualified to do it, and he said that the American dollar has lost 99.34% of its purchasing power. So that means, and my math is correct, and I change that to a fraction, that's 6.66 tenths of a penny is now what the US dollar's purchasing power is. And, or in other words, 7 tenths if you want to round up. So 7 tenths of a penny. Now, interestingly enough, at the time, if you go back to 1930 odd, when American dollar and gold they revalued gold after they did that confiscation stuff at basically $35, give or take. You take that number and you go to roughly a month and a half ago, more or less, when this report had come out. Gold was 3,500 and change US. How many times does 35 go into 3,500? So it correlates. So I'm going to go on record as saying I agree with his math, because up 100 times is pretty close to 99 and 7 tenths, and from here it only gets thinner. So it's never going to go negative. It's going to go, in a year it might be 1/20th of a penny, and then it might be 1/200th of a penny, and 1,000th of a penny. It is going to keep on adding zeros to its fraction, and and it was a little startling to me when I first saw it, because the last number I heard from the U.S. was 2 cents, something like that, and I hadn't heard anyone doing any math on it for a couple of years until just the other month, and then I'm like thinking about the gold, and of course that's conversion to US dollars, and if it's 35 to 3,500, well, that correlates. So I'm like, it must be very close. And then I thought, okay, if the US dollar is 7 tenths of a cent, the Canadian dollar is 6 tenths of a cent, something like that. And nobody's talked about that for a couple of years either. So I think we are entering in that start of that curve where we start going exponential here in the very near future, whatever that is, a month or two, or longer than that, I don't know. But gold is showing us what's coming. It's not going to stop, because they're printing money into oblivion, and so I don't see a pullback. I'm not saying it can't be pulled back a couple $100 when some event happens where people's margin calls and whatever, and they have a short amount of gold on the market, whatever. But that's nothing. That's just a daily blip. But after that, it's right back, and it's going to roar forward and do more all-time highs, and it's not going to stop.
Fantastic.
However that long is, I don't know. But It's still cheap. I've also had someone ask me that the other day, like, if it's too late to get in. I said, well, statistically speaking, when you look at the bull runs on gold and silver, they've all done, 7 or 8 times in those different periods where they've done moves up, and it's been 7 or 8 fold every time it's happened. So right now, have we even done a 1 fold yet? There's still 7 or 8 to go. Okay, so we're just starting at this position, even though that seems unfathomable. That the numbers are the numbers. That's what gold's always done. Silver's done something similar, and so 7 or 8 time up, and 7 or 8 times from like $3,000, 3,500, wherever they want to start the number from. That's 21 grand and a 7x. So how long it takes to get there, don't know. But we're nowhere near. And then I tell the clients, the alternative is, what are you gonna do? Hold cash? And I'll give you another analogy that your viewers would like. The other day, I bought some junk silver. So that's in Canada. That's pre 1966 and earlier, quarters, dimes, 50 cents, and silver dollars. And I bought 2 rolls of quarters, 1 roll of dimes. It cost me $1,000. Now, let's put that in perspective. If I go back to 1966, I could take that same $25 and buy and exchange it for those same rolls. And now those same rolls cost me $1,000 in Canadian currency, which is a 40x, which means my dollars have lost 40 times their purchasing power against those lousy rolls of quarters and dimes. I still can't get over that. I was okay with spending like $200 for a roll of quarters. That didn't bother me that much. But I'm having real trouble coughing up $400 for a roll of quarters. I can't. I'm not going to stop. But I mean,
are we going to talk about how much your wage has increased since? And whether your wage is keeping up with inflation and the devaluation of the currencies. I think that's a different discussion for for another day here, Andrew. But we do have to put a bow around it here today. But what wonderful insights. You definitely gave us a few ideas for YouTube titles here as well. Really appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks so much for coming on. SprottMoney.com is probably the best website where we can send everybody to find more of your work.
Yeah, my email is deathofthedollar@SprottMoney.com.
Fantastic. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. Much, much appreciated. And everybody else, thanks so much for tuning in here to Soar Financially. Exciting times we live in. We're recording this on the day silver broke $50, trading at new all-time high levels. Although I got to be careful saying that. The Hunt brothers, I think, were higher during that time. Although, does that count? You let me know. Let me know your thoughts down below. $50, a magical number, of course. We broke through all-time highs or old highs, and that means a lot. We've seen quite a bit of follow-through as well in the silver price. Really curious what your thoughts are on it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out tremendously, and we much, much appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Take care out there.